Hey, welcome back. My name is Glenda Picklefeather, and my puppy on the floor over there is Professor Wagsniff. And today we're going to discuss Season 1, Episode 7 of Sister Wives. This show originally aired October 17th, 2010. And the episode description says, "The big day is finally here. Follow Kody and his wives as they make Robyn officially wife number 4. See this extraordinary family as they celebrate the newest additions to their family and prepare to embark on a new chapter in their lives." So this is the wedding special. So Kody starts out. He says, tomorrow's the wedding, so we're doing a guy's night out. Logan is pretty much a man, so I'm letting him go since it's not a bachelor party. And he says, Logan's pretty much a man. Yes, we know that. We know Logan's pretty much a man. He's already grown and has more common sense than you and more responsibility than you. So we know he's a man. He says, every once in a while, you just need to go out with the guys and heal up, and get away from all the estrogen. Fortunately, I prefer the presence of women to that of men, but once in a while, it's just good to hang out with the guys. These are buddies that came to my party the night before the wedding. And what's he mean by heal up? Heal up like he's wounded from what? I don't get that. And get away from all the estrogen. I don't know what that means, but anyway, so goes to Robyn. She's at her house. She says, at my bridal shower, I got this little something from the girls. This is a Kody survival kit. First off, there's celery. Kody loves celery. Every time he comes in the house, it's like, do you have celery? And then there's salt because the boy loves salt on his food. He doesn't like pepper. I remember this one time making him eggs and putting pepper in it. He's like, oh, you put pepper in it. And I'm like, yeah. That's okay. Christine will show you how to make the eggs. He may come across as high maintenance, but he's worth it. He does the same thing for you. I mean, if you look at Kody and all his relationships, he tries to meet everybody's expectations as much as possible. And so I was sitting there thinking he's totally worth it. So no pepper. No big deal. No sweat. I can do that. I got lots to say about this. First of all, I don't know any people that just sit around and eat celery, like looking for it as a snack. I think it's the blandest thing you can eat. It's just celery. Unless you put some peanut butter on it or something. But that's odd to me. And then my other question is why is Robyn making him eggs, which insinuates that she's making him breakfast? And if they're not married, and he usually eats breakfast with Christine, why is he eating breakfast at her house, which insinuates that he spent the night? So that doesn't add up. And in the last issue, all the wives were having a discussion, and Christine says, I don't think it's fair that he spends every fourth night with Robyn. Why is he spending the night with Robyn? Is he sleeping over there? Because they're not supposed to be married, and she's making him eggs, so that doesn't make much sense. And Melanie from Notes to Self, she's the one that's the prophet's daughter, she says, you never tell one wife that another wife will show her how to do it. She says that just causes controversy. Robyn says, so the morning of the wedding day, I had a million things to do, and I was running around like a madwoman. I just want to have fun. I want to have a blast. We're going to have a good time, and it's going to be a great family party, and everybody's going to love it. Janelle says, I told him it was going to rain, and Christine says, but I didn't believe it. I'm like, Heavenly Father wouldn't do that to us. And Meri says, we noticed the clouds. They were there. They were rolling in. It was getting dark. Christine says it was getting gloomy, and that wasn't metaphorically speaking. That really was happening. And Meri, she says, that's how my heart felt. That was kind of funny. And if you ever listen to Surviving Sister Wives, that's the first podcast I ever started listening to when I got into Sister Wives. It's Corey and Carly. They're married. They are so funny, but they always call Meri Eeyore. And so when she says stuff like this, like, that's how my heart felt, it reminds me so much of what Eeyore. Robyn says, we have a bigger problem than the weather today. The address on the announcement is wrong. So let me tell you, I thought the whole thing was off. We called and texted everybody we knew, emailed them, and tried to explain everything that was going on. But I came up with a creative backup plan. This is my jar. I got the jar because it's going to rain. Possibly. So I didn't want my addresses to get wet. Brown celebration, not here. And then we have the picture of Kody and I, just so maybe we will kind of catch their eye. And that's the right address. So she's saying here that the wrong address is on the announcement. So I'm wondering if Robyn was the one to put the wrong address on the announcement. Because if somebody else had done it, I feel like she would have thrown them under the bus. she would have outed them in no time. She would have said, Meri put the wrong address or Christine put the wrong address. I'm wondering if she didn't do it, and that's why she's not really saying what happened or how that came about. She would have thrown whoever did it right under that bus. Watch out for that muffler. It's hot. And in walks Kody with the kids, talking about how Dayton said that he showered this morning, and Robyn tells him to wash his hair, and then she goes to take Brianna to take a bath. And Kody tells Dayton to go take a shower. You never see him do this with the other kids. Do you see him walking in the house with the other kids talking about their hygiene and what they need to do? No, only with Robyn's kids. And Kody says, I'm 12 today. I'm just excited. I'm just happy. I'm 12. I don't have a care in the world, which is shown evidently in the next few scenes. He does not have a care in the world. And Robyn says, we're 3 hours away from the wedding, and I've just got tons to do, still trying to get everything done. And Kody says, do I need to do something? And he offers to get balloons for the jar and take the jar out to the wrong address. And the sister wife professor calls the jar the murder jar because the wording on it looks like something a serial killer would write in a police note. But so the sister wife's professor called it the murder jar. Christine says, while Kody and Robyn had to do stuff at the reception to get ready, the three of us went to the salon to get pampered. And it's really sweet. Really sweet. McKelty says, I feel pretty. I feel like a princess. And it is fun to go get your hair and your nails done and stuff with a bunch of girls. I really enjoy that. Madison said this was the first time most of us have been to a salon to get our hair done. It was way fun. I do believe that. I think that they didn't have a lot of money, so they didn't go to hairdressers and get their hair done. I think they cut each other's hair. And McKelty said the girls were really nice. We rocked the house. Janelle says we can't do anything on a small scale in our family. And it's so sweet. The hairdresser says, everybody's going to get pretty. She's painting baby Truly's nails, and she says she didn't have any hair to curl, so we're going to do her fingers and her toes, and that baby is just so sweet. Kody says, look at those clouds killing me. Yeah, if the weather's not better, we get rained out at an outdoor reception. And he says, oh, well, I'm not too worried about it. He said, Robyn told me to buy the balloons so that I could actually mark and identify the wrong address. I got to figure out where this goes. So Kody is lost. If somebody said, I need you to go to this address and put this jar there, wouldn't the first thing you would do is put that address in your GPS so you would go straight there? Wouldn't that be like the first thing you would do so you could figure out exactly where other people would go? Because that's what other people would do, is they would put the address in their GPS and go to where it said to go. But he didn't do that. He just kind of drove around the streets of Lehigh looking for the address. This man, I don't know. Robyn says, I was thinking about how much we've been through, really been through a lot, trying to get everybody on board with the situation and okay with our relationships and emotions. She says emotions have been flying everywhere. And then it goes back to Kody. He says, I got to find the address. It's the wrong address we put on the... So he's still lost. So Meri calls Kody and says, are you still out trying to find that wrong address? Kody, in true narcissistic conversation, says, I know where I'm at. I can find my way back. I'm not totally lost. The spot is totally lost. So finally he puts it in the GPS and he finds the spot and he decides to come back. And this is something about Kody that I have noticed, and I have a lot of theories on Kody. And I think in his everyday life, if he gets sent out on an errand, he takes as long as possible. Did you see that Reddit post where the waiter at Salsa Brava said that Kody would come and sit at a booth in the back of the restaurant and stay there for hours, sometimes up to 6 hours, sit there looking at his computer, looking at his phone? They always said that Kody wasn't home. And he may not have always been at Robyn's house. He may have been hiding somewhere. In Flagstaff, it was Salsa Brava. But, in his backyard, there's a sign for the Fajita Cantina. I'm wondering if Lehigh, if he went to the Fajita Cantina and sat in a back booth somewhere for hours and hours so he didn't have to go home. I wonder if this was really true. I could totally see that. And that may be how he ended up with that sign. He probably earned it. But I could see him being sent on an errand and just taking his sweet time. He says here, he puts the bottle and the balloons right at the wrong address. And he says, that jar took forever, so I had to race home and get ready. So I think he makes things take forever. That's just a theory I have. It's like when the dads go to the bathroom and they don't come out for a long time. I think that's kind of along the lines of what Kody likes to do. He says, I got to go home and get ready. And by get ready, he means that Meri is going to dress him. Robyn says, such a busy day in dressing Dayton in his purple little tuxedo, preparation, running, hair, getting stuff together. I mean, it was crazy. Just one thing after the other. Oh my heck, I'm in the bathroom. And why am I alone? What is wrong with me? Why isn't someone over here with me? What? Why didn't I plan ahead on this one? And that's a great question. Why are you alone? Where is your mom? And where are your friends? And where are your sisters? I know you got sisters. Are they still mad because you slept with their boyfriend? I mean, where are they at? Where are they at? She says, why didn't I plan ahead on this one? And I think Robyn has created this situation because she doesn't want anybody around her kids. And so nobody's going to come and willingly offer to take your kids because you always tell them no. And you tell a person no, no, no enough, they'll quit offering. And so I think that's probably what went down here. Robyn's upset that nobody's over there, but it's her own fault. It's her own fault. She put herself in that situation. Meri says we got the hair done and the pedicures and stuff because she told us to. She says that Robyn sent them there. And Janelle says, so I mean, really, truly, if she would have said, can you please come over and get the kids? Well, sure, no problem. But we didn't know. And I believe that. I believe Robyn didn't want them watching her kids. I truly believe that. So she has no reason to be upset. It goes to the dressing room and Meri is dressing Kody and Leon's standing there watching. And Kody gets this dreamy look in his eyes and he's like looking all lustful at Meri and he's wanting to kiss her. And Meri says, I wish it was my wedding night. And Leon's just sitting there. I think they do that all the time, because she didn't seem fazed by it at all. So Robyn says it was like this big circus, and she yells at the kids to open the door because they're locking each other out of the car. They're locking me out of the car. If my child locked me out of the car on purpose, I don't think I'd let them get away with that. It can be dangerous. You don't lock your parents out of a car. Kody says, I didn't realize that Robyn was so stressed out. Maybe I was just oblivious. You think, it shows Christine getting ready and coming to the ceremony. And it's funny because the difference in Robyn getting her kids in the car and Christine getting her kids in the car is totally different. The kids are going out there in a single file line. They're smiling, they're laughing. Christine hands her keys to one of the kids and says, put this in the ignition. And you compare that to Robyn, whose kids are locking her out of the car. So here we have Christine and her kids, and she's handing them the keys. And then we have Robyn over here, whose kids are all over the place, locking her out. And she's yelling. I thought that was interesting. And Kody says, we had a really beautiful ceremony. It is very private. Robyn says the cameras are not welcome at the ceremony because it's very sacred to us. Kody says, when it comes to our religious ceremonies, there are other people we have to respect. There's a lot of love involved. There's a lot of acceptance involved. Tears, hugs. It was gorgeous. This is back to my theory that I have Melody from Notes to Self has. The ceremony happened in January or February that year, and this is now May. So we think that, you notice he's not saying here that it happened that day. And I don't think it happened that day. And the reason I don't think it happened that day is because you have to go to a temple, you have to wear special clothes, and these people are getting dressed up in tuxes and wedding dresses. Why would you get dressed up in brown dresses and putting your kids in little tuxedos and dressing your little girls up when there is certain garb that you have to wear in a sealing? Why would you do all that trouble to go to a ceremony and then change clothes again? I can tell I'm getting you over to my side as to my theory about this. Just think about it. Think about it. Why are we wearing cummerbunds and putting ties on and all this stuff if it's not part of the sealing? So when he says we had a really beautiful ceremony, it's very private, and Robyn says the cameras are not welcome. And then Kody says the reception is actually the really big deal because this is where our guests come. So now people are coming to this party. I don't think there was a wedding. I don't think there was a sealing. I think this was just a plain Jane party. And Robyn says the first thing we did when we got to the reception, we planned out that we were going to get family pictures. So the first thing they did when they got to the reception was not have a wedding, not get sealed. They took pictures. So I think all this dressing up, all of this is just to take pictures. There is no official anything going on here except taking pictures and a party. Meri said, I had suggested to Robyn, I would love to have a family photo. I would love for you to match us all and not be in your wedding dress. Robyn says, so I had a second dress made that was brown and went with their dresses. Janelle says, I want to give a hats off to Meri because she usually will help the photographer fix the shot. I believe that. Janelle probably has no interest in making a picture look good. That is not on her radar. She's just glad somebody's thinking about it. Meri says, I was hoping the photographer wasn't getting annoyed with me because I'm a little bit much of a perfectionist. Christine said, what is that? What's that? You know, a little joke like, we know you are. Meri says they call me the picture Nazi. We discussed last episode why you shouldn't say the word Nazi. And she seems a little proud of it. She says, but they like it once they get the picture. Kody says Meri is a picture goddess. Meri said, oh, I like goddess so much better than Nazi. We all do, Meri. We all do. Robyn says, Brianna, for whatever reason, she decided to turn on her prima donna. And oh my goodness, when she turns that on, I'm in trouble. And I wonder where Brianna learned that from. The same place you learned it from, your mama. She says, for whatever reason, this girl goes into her and she mimics the girl crying. And Sister Wives go to therapy. She's a counselor and the Sister Wives professor, he's a communications specialist. They both say that her mimicking her daughter crying is not healthy. You shouldn't mimic your child's behavior on national TV because that will come back. And the child will see that. They both said that that wasn't good that she was doing that. And what right does she have to make fun of her kid crying? She has no right. She cries all the time. She's on cry number 7 in this episode. Christine said her life was changing, and Robyn says that that's really what it is. There's like humongous changes almost every other day. We were really concerned that people weren't going to come to the reception. That's part of the reason why I was worried about the invitation address being wrong. And she says, here, I ran to the bride's room and changed from my family picture's dress to the wedding dress. So she changed from her brown dress into her wedding dress. I really wanted to wear a wedding dress to say that I was married. Then we changed from the family picture situation to let's have a reception. Nowhere in that is a ceiling or wedding. She says, when we first got there, we started taking pictures. And then she says here, I ran from the family pictures to change into my wedding dress. I really wanted to wear a wedding dress to say that I was married. Then we went to the reception. Nowhere in there is a wedding or a ceiling or any kind of ceremony of any kind. And this is something else that this is where we first see Brett. And this is my podcast, so I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. Brett is Kody's friend that he kind of grew up with. They were mission partners when they went away on trips. Brett showed up later. He was there at the bachelor party. He showed up later for guys' night out. He came to the wedding. As soon as Brett showed up, Kody left Robyn's side and went to hug him and tell him hello. Kody talks about Brett later and starts to cry when he's talking about Brett. He stated that on his wedding day, he felt loneliness when Brett had to go. And he was so sad to see him go. And then he had to stop talking because he was about to start crying. He had tears and he could no longer talk because he was getting choked up. Reddit one time, I asked the question about Kody's sexuality. People got so mad about me asking about Kody's sexuality that I ended up taking it down because I didn't want to offend too many people. But there's always that question in the back of your mind when he's acting like this, saying he feels lonely and he misses him so much and he gets so choked up that he can no longer talk. I'm not saying that he's one way or the other, but if he is, I think it would be healthier for him just to embrace it, and that could be part of his problem. I mean, he could be any number of things, but I don't think that in the way he was raised, I don't think that he can let himself be who he truly wants to be. And you remember the last tell-all discussion, they were asking about his sexuality and he shut it down quick. He says, no. He gets mad. He gets furious. He looks at the producer and says, this is not right. Don't ask me about this stuff. Suki is like, what's happening? What's happening? You know, and I think that's what he thought they were asking about. He got so upset about it. So there is something underlying there not addressed in his life and he doesn't want to admit to himself. Then it shows Janelle and Meri and Christine, and they're presenting Robyn with her clotter ring. And they said, "We got you this to welcome you to the club." And Robyn shows the clotter ring and everybody claps. And Melanie from Notes to Self said this reception was split like two different sections. There was a section of people who wanted to be recorded and a section of people who did not want to be on camera. The rumor was that you could come to this reception and you could be considered for your own show. They would take your picture and figure out who you were and get your story, and that you could be considered for your own show. That was what the rumor was, and that's why everybody wanted to come. And I think that was a good way for TLC to get a hold of who all was polygamist and willing to be on TV. And they say that Joe Dogger was there and Jeff Aldridge from Seeking Sister Wives was there. And going back to the clottering, it's said in Christine's new book that when one of the daughters turns 13, they get their own clotter ring. He did not get one for Truly and Isabel when they turned 13. Every other girl in the family got one when they were 13. And Christine says that they took a trip to Ireland and bought them one from the source. And go, girl, you do that. Christine said that when she asked Kody about getting a clotter ring, that he said it just wasn't on his radar. Reason number 5017, that we don't like Kody. And come on, moving on. Robyn said, "I was kind of like I got into a sorority." And Kody said that everything was gorgeous. And you could tell that he's never really done a traditional wedding before because he starts to cut into the very top of the cake. And everybody knows you don't cut into the very top of the cake. You save the top part of the cake for later. Something about eating it a year later. It is a tradition because at our wedding, somebody handed me the top of our cake wrapped in aluminum foil and said, "Put this in your freezer." And I did, but we never ate it because I pulled that thing out. I was like, oh my God. But that is you don't cut the top part of your cake. You save it for a year later. It's supposed to be good luck or something. So anyway, Robyn's telling him to stop, and that's why she's telling him to stop, is because he's cutting right into the top of the cake. And then he's asking, "How do I feed it to her? Just with my fingers?" You can tell he's never done this before. He says, "Weddings are complicated. You'd think I'd be good at it by now." Then it shows him giving her a piece of the cake. And a lot of the podcasts say that he shoved the cake in her mouth, and he didn't really shove it, but he kind of was going in and she came back. That's always been something that there's a lot of controversy about. Some women don't mind if the cake gets shoved in their face, and some women do mind. I have seen YouTube videos where the bride gets up and walks out because the groom shoved the cake in her face. There's really good reason. You know, the bride has spent a lot of time on her makeup, on her hair, on this expensive dress, and you are just shoving food in her face. It's just not a good look. And I don't think, not to defend Kody, but I don't think he was really doing that. I think he kind of went forward, but Robyn pulled back. She didn't really get any on her. Kody said, "I thought I was being nice." And then he does this thing. He says, "I'm sorry. Wait. Christine, I'm sorry. Wait. Janelle, I'm sorry. Wait. Meri, I'm sorry." He says, "Do I get a pass?" So he's not really sorry. That was trivializing the whole thing, you know. Not to defend Kody, but I don't think he was really shoving that cake in her face. I don't think he would do that to Robyn. He might do it to Christine, but I don't think he would do it to Robyn. And then Janelle and Christine kind of throw some shade. Janelle says, "My experience coming into the wedding was nothing really like Robyn's experience. Quite honestly, when I had made my decision to marry Kody, I lost the relationship with most of my family and friends because they were so appalled." And Christine says mine was a lot different from Robyn's reception. It was a really, really a simple event. Meri says my wedding reception was actually a large event. And Janelle says she served cream puffs. I love Janelle. That would be what I would remember too. The best thing that they ate there. All she remembered was they served cream puffs. Meri says, "Yes, we had cream puffs." Janelle was there. She came. I wore a white dress. He was in a white tux. And it was fun. It was good for us. Kody says, "This was literally kind of a coming out party for us. This one event was really where most people were going to meet us, as we were polygamists in a setting. We were an entire family and they were coming to see us." Christine says it was an absolute blessing. That's what the reception was. It was a perfect ending of a chapter. It definitely was an ending of a chapter. Maybe not a perfect ending, but it was. Kody says, "And so I wanted to say goodnight to all my wives before Robyn and I go on our honeymoon. Nell came up and let me know she was going, so I walked out with her. And after that, Christine let me know that it was time, that she was ready to go. And then Meri walked out. And Kody is telling Meri, 'I truly, deeply love you.' And they're having a moment. And lo and behold, who walks right into their path? Robyn. And she says, Kody and Meri were walking away from the reception to say goodbye to each other, and I saw them. And they were having like this little stroll. This is their time, this is their goodbye. I'm not going to interrupt or intrude. But she walks right down the sidewalk, right to where they are, where Kody's telling Meri that he truly, deeply loves her. And Meri gives me a hug and tells me that she loves me. Cry number 7. So she is crying now because Meri gave her a hug and told her that she loved her. After she interrupted their bonding moment, but whatever. Meri said, so I was welcoming her into our family and she was welcoming us too. And it is such a big thing and I appreciate that. That was really cool. Thanks. And Kody said it was really beautiful to all of us, no matter what anybody else thought while we were there. What does that mean? It was really beautiful to all of us, no matter what anybody else thought while we were there. I wonder if they were coming to an event where all they did was take pictures. There was no actual ceremony to watch, no actual wedding, no matter what anybody else thought while they were there. So somebody thought something different, or he wouldn't have said that. It was beautiful to us. Christine says, I think about our future together. I look forward to it very much. But what I look forward to the most is a big, big house with all of us having our separate quarters like we have now, where we can all be together. That's really what I'm looking forward to. So that did not pan out. I think once Christine got her own house and realized what a massive improvement it was, she dropped this way of thinking so fast, so fast. She didn't want one house again, ever. Janelle has a little bit better view on it. She says, what I'm seeing for us is the 5 of us sitting at the football games together, at the graduations together, and I just see us going forward and doing the things that sit around our family, but all of us together. That's what I see. And I think that was probably a healthier view of what to look forward to. And Meri said, I would call these girls my best friends right now. I really would. I look forward to the time when we're just so close that we don't want to live without each other. We want to call each other and tell each other about everything that is going on in our lives. I'm curious to know what's next. So that was the end of that. And now the next episode is them going on a honeymoon, an 11-day honeymoon, which turns out to be an issue. So for my tell-all question is for Kody and Robyn. And I know I've said this before, but the way that Robyn maps out the events about getting there and she took pictures and then she immediately put on the dress and then they went to the party. There was no mention of a ceremony or a wedding. Kody says it really was just all about the party. So we are confused. You stated you put on the dress after pictures. You did not mention that you wore the dress to any sort of ceremony. Did you buy a wedding dress just to wear to a reception? I can understand a party, but who buys a whole wedding dress just to wear to a party? Why are you leading us to believe that something happened that day when it didn't? But anyway, thank you for joining us, and I'll see you next time. That's it for today. If you like my podcast, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to reach me, you can always reach me at redflagrewatch@gmail.com. Thank you for joining me today. See you next time. Why couldn't the produce manager make it to work? Why couldn't the produce manager make it to work? He could drive, but he didn't have a Kado. He didn't have a car, though. Anyway, all right, bye.